Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Reyna, head of Thematic and Specialty Product Strategy, ETFs and Index Strategies at Invesco, to discuss how investors can get exposure to the products and services that make up the water industry. Rene, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Hey, thanks, Jill. Great to see you.
What is the current state of America's water infrastructure?
Yeah, so I would first say the water theme has been a focus for quite some time, and there's really two big threats. So one, inadequate water infrastructure. So I think many people think back to the water supply challenge of Flint, Michigan. That drinking water crisis where lead from aging pipes leached into the water supply. I think the second really big threat is extreme climate events. And we're seeing this convergence. We're seeing both these threats in certain regions really come together. And, I think we've, from a climate perspective, we saw Florida just experienced a 500-year storm with Hurricane Ian. We've seen severe storms hit the Mississippi area in August. The Pearl River flooded. The aging backup pumps just could not keep up. And, they were really having challenges treating water supply. 150,000 of their residents were without access to safe drinking water. We look out west, we have 1,200-year droughts in California. And this is not only just impacting agriculture, but, as we see these higher probabilities of these forest fires, we saw a few years back in Paradise, California, where not only did houses burn down due to the fires, but the underground water supply pipes also got melted. So, we're really starting to see, as I mentioned, this convergence of two events really stress our water systems. And if we just look at the average U.S. water network pipes in America, they're on average 45 years of age. We see about 300,000 water main breaks annually. We look at the ASCE and their grade, so American Society of Civil Engineers, their grade for drinking water infrastructure is currently a C-. We look at wastewater infrastructure, that grade is currently a D+. And so I think we're at this inflection point where we recognize there's going to have to be a significant amount of investment. And so the total cost to restore through 2050 is estimated at over $1 trillion. And I think there's a catalyst right now for investors considering allocating to the space. We see about $55 billion of new funding opportunities that were included in the federal infrastructure bill to upgrade drinking water, wastewater infrastructure. So this could be an opportunity for investors who are looking to consider investing in this theme.
So what types of products and services make up the water industry?
Yeah, so the water industry is, when we think about the water industry, we're thinking more sort of water equities, water stocks. And I just bring that up because, there is a futures sort of commodity index that exists. This more tracks the supply demand dynamics of water as a commodity, which is up quite a bit this year. But where we look at the water industry, we look at more sort of the traditional equities. And so these are going to be companies that manufacture water pumps, pumping equipment, water purification equipment, water metering. You'll see pipe and pipe fitting. So think about fire hydrants, for example. And then you'll see some of your traditional utilities, American Water Works, California Water Service Group, that fit into this particular theme. And so when we think about this theme, we're really focused on some of these underlying industries in the publicly traded water equity space.
How can investors get exposure to the water theme?
So we think one of the least risky ways to get exposure is through a portfolio of companies that are attacking water scarcity in many different ways. We think you can get that in an ETF. Invesco's Water Resources ETF, the ticker is PHO, is one of the industry's first water ETFs. This was launched 17 years ago, back in 2005. The fund currently sits at about 1.5 billion in AUM, so it's one of the largest water ETFs that exists. It tracks the Nasdaq OMX Water Index, and what this basket is really trying to identify are companies within the water theme that create products designed to conserve and purify water for homes, businesses, and industries. This particular fund is quarterly rebalanced. It's about 90% US, so it is a more domestic associated fund. And in terms of expense ratio, it's around 60 basis points. I would also just add, in terms of how we see this fit into a portfolio, generally a satellite type position. We do see water securities over the long term tend to have a lower correlation with the broader equity market. This year it's been more aligned with the broader equity market, so it's down similar to the S&P 500 as an example. But really a great satellite position, as I mentioned earlier. We do see sort of a long-term catalyst as we look to solve and invest in improving our U.S. water infrastructure.
All right, Rene, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.